Shall we? Oh, let me close Thunderbird before you get the annoying notifications. Wonderful. Think we're good to go. Should be live. Yeah. Nice. Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? What has everybody been up to? How's things? I have been not great. But what's new there? What's is that really a surprise? It isn't for me. Let me just. No, okay. Yes. Hello. Welcome. How's things? Hello, Sam. How you doing, man? How's things? How has your week been? What have you been up to? Have you been testing 5090s by any chance? Because that's the news of the day. Hello, Scarlet Witch. How you doing? I missed you last week, but we did talk about the Threat Interactive. Is that the channel name? The video that you recommended, which was interesting. Having done a small amount of games development myself, years ago, I might add, in fact, this will date me, UDK, Unreal Development Kit, aka Unreal Engine 3. Bearing in mind we're on 5 now, we were using 3. It was kind of fun. Well, you normally talk about those things in other launches, so I have to assume. What is it that you actually do? Because I can't quite work it out. um, and as for me being 3 minutes early, that is quite common. Because I'm normally sat here at my desk, basically ready to go. So why not? Uh, Tiny bit too technical for me, but understood enough. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I've done both for game development, for making the tools like the DirectX code that I've got, and also for videos. Like I did quite a few semi in-depth videos a little while ago on like how to build your own CPU and GPU. Admittedly, a relatively like basic level and whatnot. And I was also like 12, so the videos weren't great, but I did learn a lot. Uh, and so I have some understanding of graphics pipelines and the render pipeline and process and that sort of thing. So yeah. Uh, yeah, anyway. Actually, speaking of the tools, um, this is what development looks like, by the way. This is an RP2040 Adafruit board with two USB headers soldered on. um, this is what development looks like. uh, What's that for? Well, I make a series of tools called the open source response time tool and the open source latency testing tool. And specifically on the latency testing tool front, if you want to test like mice and things like that and keyboards, the current version of the latency testing tool does a pretty decent job, and it's also a pretty real world measurement because it's testing for, when you press a key or move the mouse or whatever, from that movement or input to how long it shows up on like in Windows in a program. It's a keyboard and mouse hook, so it's as low level as you can get. It's the mouse down or key down event, so there's no like waiting for it to release, all that sort of stuff. Like it's as low latency on the software side as you can make it, making it as close to a real world experience, like test as possible, right? But there is still some limitations to that, and it would be pretty cool to basically do man in the middle. So you plug your, your mouse or keyboard in here. This basically becomes a pass through. So it's as if this man in the middle isn't there because you plug another cable in here to your PC, and then this board can read the USB packets. And if I can work out how to make it work, which like I soldered this up last night, so that this is as far as the development has gone. It would be great if I can make it work so that I can read the packets and find the packet that has the event in it, basically. Um, and then be able to tell you from touching the mouse to the packet being sent how much of the like on device time there is. And then I also kind of want to do some like motorized testing equipment to go along with it. So it'll be a servo motor or something that can like press the button for you, or press the key switch, or even move the mouse potentially. Um, so yeah, but also this is as far as the development has gone so far. How would you compare XLAT to your tools? So XLAT kind of does what I'm trying to do here with a few differences. So for those that don't know, XLAT is who is it? Final Mouse, that's it. So Final Mouse, a mouse company made a latency testing tool for mice, basically. It is, I'm pretty sure it's open source. There is a GitHub link. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. The main thing with XLAT is, so it is a sort of standalone device, whereas my tools are like require Windows basically. And the sort of the great thing about XLAT is that because it is all on device, it makes it very isolated, accurate, and generally repeatable, which is great. The downside that I, at least I'm aware of, I don't know if this has been changed, like I haven't looked at XLAT in a while and I don't have one, so I can't be 100% sure, but if I remember rightly, because the pass-through is not just like packet sniffing, but it's an intermediary, uh, if I remember rightly, high polling rates don't work. So like higher than 1,000 hertz doesn't work because the STM32 that runs it runs the USB bus at 1,000 hertz polling rate, and it can't do higher than that. So it'd be great to do that. Although apparently there was an update that I'm looking at that says 8K USB interrupt interval now working. So maybe that is fixed. Who knows? From currently available tools, uh, OSLTC CS is, like I said, technically it is a more real world measurement because it is from when you touch the mouse, especially with the peripheral testing kit, to when Windows sees the event. And it is very much like how you use the mouse. So whatever drivers or software, whatever settings you want, it's all done there. I want this for the sake of completeness, but I also want to do the whole like motorized testing, both for ease, to be able to just like set it up, have it do 100 or 1,000 clicks or key presses or mouse moves, whatever, but also for repeatability, because especially with like the key presses or clicks, the especially with keyboards, the biggest latency difference when you're doing the testing is just the inconsistency in how hard and fast you're pressing it. So having a servo do it for you, I think will be a pretty big deal in upgrading the reliability of the data that it gives you. Obviously, the more clicks you do and the more consistent you are at it, the more consistent the data is. So it's not a big deal, but still, it'd be nice to have. Can't tell I have ADHD and I go all over the place. So if I didn't answer the question very well, sorry. Um, Hello, Luca. How you doing? Not much. I do product testing and assessment for electronic and electrical equipment. I'm a qualified mechanic and chef. I have a degree in electrical engineering and try to do as little as possible. Well, fair enough. So you're like compliance testing is the reason why you get hardware early to have a play with in benchmark. Am I understanding that right? Got a display link adapter from a Mac. Turns out you can't use Netflix when you use it, as it uses screen sharing. Interesting. I did actually find that with I Amazon Prime Video has like DRM on the video stream from the browser. So if you try and like restream it, use screen capture in any form, or even I think use HDMI capture, it's just a blank window. Like the rest of the window works fine, but the actual Amazon window is black, even though the main screen is still playing. It's really funky. But yeah, I found it interesting. And fair play sound. Apparently you can turn off hardware acceleration and it'll work, but only in Chrome or Firefox. Interesting. I'm really interested in latency testing in your project. I'm working with a buddy to create a mouse, PCB and all. Nice. I signed up for what are they called? PixArt. Like I have the data sheet for the is it 33.95? The is it 26K optical sensor? The one that everyone has. Yeah, I had to sign in as well. At least for the data sheet anyway. I'd quite like to make an open source mouse. It's kind of funny. So as I 50% signed up for the data sheet because I was reviewing quite a few mice with that sensor, and I basically just wanted to know the specs of it, mostly just for my own interest. And so I signed up, requested it. It took them like 3 weeks for them to get back to me. But because when I signed up, you have to give them a reason why they should give you a data sheet. And so I was like, oh, I kind of want to make an open source mouse. And they were like, we're happy to provide you with a data sheet, but you cannot like you cannot share the specs of this sensor or the data sheet in your open source project. The only things you can share are the pinout and like the public figures. I was like, okay. So yeah, that was funny. I also got an INAO Pro 2021 coming tomorrow. See it, it's compared to the Steam Deck. Nice. I mean, being a 2021 model, it's on the older side now, but fair. Are you using raw input for your testing? So, like I said, the what you call it? The desktop software uses a mouse hook and keyboard hook. So I don't know if it's actually raw input or not for the mouse. I'm trying to remember. So it has been probably a year to 2 years since I wrote the code for it. So bear with me while I check. Um, Using it probably primarily for PCTS. Fair enough. Um, miss anything else? There we go. Uh, bu- 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 so, where is it? I am using X input for the controller testing. I can tell you that much. Just the keyboard hook. Oh, it's alright, I wrote this is for it. I'm sick. Yes. In fact, I can. Damn it, why is it always the wrong account? Bear with. For some reason, YouTube broke the. There we go. Like chat window, so I have to open the stream itself and then do pop out chat from there. But for some reason, when I do that, it changes what account I'm logged in as on the pop out chat window. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. So that's what it's my code is based on for the mouse hook. For some reason, YouTube did something not helpful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, speaking of microcontroller boards that I'm interested in playing with, this is a little seed board. It's an ESP32. Is it C6? Yeah. So this little board, amazingly, can do Zigbee and Matter. And I intend to make a Zigbee device with it. At some point when I have some mental energy, which is never because I'm currently dead. Uh, what do you think? How much will be better, PCIe 3 versus 5 and 4 versus 5? I'm not. I don't quite understand the question. Uh. So, are you asking what version of PCIe is best for your graphics card? So we talked about this a bit last week, actually. Right now, even with the 5090, I believe supports PCIe Gen 5. I don't believe that running at Gen 4 will hurt its performance, especially considering from the benchmarks we saw today, really not that much faster. And so currently, PCIe Gen 4 is basically the standard for all motherboards and CPUs from the last, I want to say, like 5 years for GPUs. So if you have a system that's give or take about 5 years old or newer, it can run PCIe Gen 4, and that is more than enough from what you call it? Basically any graphics card right now. Jesus Christ, my brain. 5090 doesn't saturate Gen 4 X16 yet, does it? That's what I mean. I don't think so. So Gen 5 is not a necessary thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Fair play, Simon. Yeah, money talks. So yeah, has anyone seen the 5090 reviews yet? I watched a couple of them today, and yeah, it's not looking inspiring, is it? Yeah, yeah. Good pun. Yeah, it's not looking great. It very much looks like Nvidia was relying on the AI tech that I have to assume they're just arbitrarily limiting you from with older cards, because it didn't look like there was much, if any, performance difference from like the ray tracing cores or the AI cores that are on board, at least from the current benchmarks. $5090 for the bucks. It's not great for gaming. Reflex 2 looks crazy though, waiting for that to come to the 40 series. I heard the name Reflex 2, but I haven't heard much about it. Has Nvidia detailed much about, how it works, what it's doing in the background? Because I have done, actually, to sell myself a little more or my tools. The magic of the latency tool, like OSLTTCS, is that you can use it for testing mice and keyboards, and then you can strap it to your display and use it for testing games too. I know because I do that for videos. And I have done what you call it, plenty of tests with Radeon anti-lag, anti-lag 2, anti-lag plus, as short-lived as it was, and reflex. Basically moves the frame to where your mouse moved after the frame is rendered and fills in the gaps with AI. Right. Oh. I mean... That sounds like it might be a problem. I guess, yeah, I mean, well, I don't have any 40 series cards either at the moment, so I guess I'll have to scrounge around for one to be able to test that. But once I can get my hands on a card, and are there any games that support it at the moment? Because the other thing with Nvidia's the way that Nvidia does things like this is that it's all like in-game engine, and therefore the game developers have to actually implement it, which is something that what you call it, they're often remiss to do, because they're already overworked and on tight deadlines, and the idea of like, hey, let's put in an extra feature that only, you know, some gamers can use. Normally takes some money from Nvidia for that to happen. So yeah. I think it'll eventually go all the way back to 30 series though. I mean, that'd be nice. I'll be going from NUC integrated graphics to pretty much, well, Halo everything. No hate, please. It's going to be insane. My first compy build, maybe with a little bit of help. I mean, I went from gaming on a laptop with, it technically had a DGPU, but it was a very, very, very terrible DGPU. Like it was a £300 Toshiba like netbook thing. Not netbook. Like it was a Toshiba Satellite N300, I think, from 2009 or 2010. I went from that to at least a mid-range. I think it was about £1,000 PC when I built it. Like AMD FX 8120. I know. I got great videos out of it though. An HD 6870 with 1 GB of VRAM, and I think it was like 16 gigs of RAM, but it was 4 gig DIMMs, so there's 4 of them. An FX 990, a 990 FX Asus Crosshair 4 motherboard. NZXT Havoc 140 air cooler, like tower cooler. Zalman PC case to start with, I think. And probably a very terrible power supply. Oh yeah. And as I've said before, I wasn't smart when I was 15 and I built this. Well, actually 14 when I spec'd it and 15 when I built it. 2 used 500GB mechanical hard drives. Sorry, 2 different used mechanical 500GB hard drives in RAID 0. Yeah, I wasn't smart. It did fail multiple times. And then I bought an SSD. Finally. Back when they were incredibly expensive. Yeah. Like I said, wasn't smart. Yes, the OCZ Vertex 4. It's, I believe, still working. Yeah, RAID 0 used different mechanical hard drives. Have we talked about 1519, how the uplift was disappointing, and how we're at the wall now? Well, we talked a little bit about the 1590 and how it's disappointing. Yes, it's clear that Nvidia is really leaning on the AI generated frames as a fake performance uplift, which I'm not very happy about. I've never been super interested in AI generated frames. Yes, crutch is a good word for it. I think so. The thing with AI generated frames is added latency, which I've covered in every frame gen video that I've done, which is basically the frame generator has to be able to look at the current frame and the next frame to be able to interpolate between. And now with the newest version of the DLSS frame gen where it generates 3 frames, you're now waiting 3 whole frames at least to be able to see the new real frame. And in theory, it shouldn't matter because the frame generation should be able to interpolate between. But in some of the examples where they were getting like 27 FPS in a game and then, you know, triple the frame rate to 120 or whatever, who cares? Like, in theory, that's good, but the problem with running at native 27 FPS and then just faking everything in between is that you end up with really stilted a really stilted experience because the actual game engine itself is only running at 30 FPS. It's only handling new events at 30 FPS. And so even though you can potentially fake things in between, all you're gonna get is just a prolonged, muzzle flash that takes 8 frames to go away instead of the one that it would normally be on screen for. You end up with smeared movement, especially if you are running at native like 30 FPS. That's going to be really bad as an actual playing experience. I have to assume anyway. And so yeah, I'm not really looking forward to it. And yeah, this fake it till you make it frame generation. Yes, as the Scarlet Witch says, it's a crutch, not a good one. I couldn't help it. It's within arm's reach. If they managed to buy ARM, I think it would have been a bit better. Well, not really, because I mean, like ARM doesn't make any chips. ARM makes chip designs that they then sell, or actually they license to other people to make. Like Qualcomm's Snapdragon, whatever the newest one is just a bunch of ARM chips basically put together in the big little configuration. Like, so I don't know what Nvidia could do by owning ARM that they couldn't do by just licensing existing ARM designs, if that makes sense. I agree, and it's not great. I feel like the best use is keeping the mouse super smooth on a game already running at decent FPS. Hypothetically, I think it'll be what you call it? I will be interested to see and test out Reflex 2 to see both from a latency perspective and from a like visual perspective how that plays out, how that works. I think that'll be interesting. Hello Booyar, how you doing, man? How's things? Ishan, can you review an MSI Katana 13 Gen i7 and a 3050? One, I think that's a reasonably old machine, so even if I did have access to MSI laptop samples, which I kind of blew that boat a while ago, I doubt that I'd be able to get, so I'm afraid not. Yeah, I'm afraid that that's not something I'd be able to get my hands on, even if I wanted to. Oh dear. In a small health update, I'm not well. I had my first infusion last week. The needle mark's gone. Yeah. I had a mild allergic reaction, so I might die from the next one. We'll find out next Friday. And yeah, I'm really not well. I'm really like tired, lacking energy, and I'm not absorbing much, through my digestive tract, which is a bit of a problem. Which is why I'm so tired and sleeping a lot while not feeling anywhere near rested. So yeah, I am just surviving. From my understanding, the input code you're using is regular input. You might want to look into raw input, especially for high polling rate mice. Most games are using it now, so it's a super close comparison. So I did actually try using raw input because as part of the DirectX code that I've got, the Sharp DX library, which unfortunately is end of life, but it's still working. Um, it's basically DirectX but in C Sharp. It's a C Sharp wrapper for DirectX. I tried using raw input, and actually for the DirectX code, like when it opens the DirectX window to do the like display latency testing and the pretest, that is uh, raw input, I think, or is it direct input? There's raw input and direct input, and I can never remember which one it is I'm actually using. I think I probably have both installed in the project, so just looking at what packages I'm using won't help me, but I'll check anyway. Sharp, installed. Uh, yes, I do have direct and raw input. Although I downgraded raw input because there was a bug in the most recent version, 4.2.0, so I think that means that I am using raw input. Anyway, point is, I am using raw input for the DirectX code. The problem is that raw input is an exclusive access. It takes exclusive access to the device, which when you don't have a full screen application that's the focused application, it gets messy. And I basically encountered a problem where if you were to ever alt tab out of the OSLCT window being the focus window, the exclusivity is broken, and therefore I couldn't re-up it, like re-exclusive the keyboard or mouse without like restarting the app basically, or restarting the DirectX code parts, which is a bit of a problem for that sort of testing. And in my testing, even high polling rate devices still give you very usable results with the low level mouse hook and keyboard hook that I am using. So yeah, that's why it's the way it is. Although, like I said, it's been a little while since I looked or I wrote that functionality. So any more context and nuance may be lost to time at this point. Should I buy a second-hand PS4 or Xbox? Well, that entirely depends on what games you want to play. If you have any friends on either platform. Yeah, I mean, as a general consensus, I think that PlayStation has PS4 generally has more exclusives available, so I assume that. But yeah, that's a very kind of personal decision, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so um a brief relook at my mouse hook code. It is a user 32 and kernel 32 level driver, so it is basically as low level as you can get without it being an exclusive device control, which was the problem that I had in testing and developing that. And yeah, I think it's the same for for the keyboard hook. Yeah. I had surgery last week, and I can't imagine having to feel this bleh constantly like you do. Don't give up. Yeah. I was talking to my therapist earlier today about well that that sort of topic. And I think what's kind of funny is for those that don't know, I have four physical disabilities and conditions that make life difficult. My eyes fall apart. It's called map-dot dystrophy. I have, in theory, I have palindromic rheumatism, but I have unspecified joint pain. I have lumbar lordosis, which means my spine is, like my lower spine is disfigured and causes pain. And I now also have ulcerative colitis, where my large intestine is being attacked by my immune system, and therefore causes diarrhea and blood loss. Um, and at least for the ulcerative colitis, the only treatment for it is just to suppress your immune system in various ways, whether that's steroids, like not anabolic steroids, but anti-inflammatory steroids, corticosteroids, um, or via immunosuppressants, whether that's like standard immunosuppressants like mercaptopurine or azathioprine, or whether that's through biologics, which is what I'm currently on, which sound like bioweapons. It's very much just a band-aid or a crutch. I couldn't not. Um, and what's kind of funny is that my other three conditions are very sporadic. They come and go. Like my eye explodes about once a month. It lasts for a day. It sucks ass, but whatever. The joint pain and back pain are a bit more like consistent, but they're also like the more I do stuff, the more it hurts. So the less I do stuff, the less it hurts, which is a horrible cycle, but whatever. But the the ulcerative colitis, it if left untreated would kill me from like blood and fluid loss. I actually got somewhat accidentally close to that towards the start of it happening. I collapsed while on my mountain bike, just having climbed up the hill that I was gonna then ride down. And so yeah, that was great. For being 28, I've had a lot of near-death experiences. Um, but yeah, the problem for me is that the ulcerative colitis is a very constant difficulty. Like I am currently uncomfortable in my gut region. I am tired. I am uh, struggling to focus and function. And you know, best case, these immunosuppressants help with that, but they also leave me immunocompromised, and if I get the flu, I die. So, you know, um, so yeah, it's not a great position to be in. I am I just spend most of the remaining energy I have on making stuff like this. Like the fact that I have, you know, one person made two different let's say very well received tools that are used worldwide by now hundreds of people is really nice. I'm really happy with that. I'm really, you know, proud of that. And so yeah, uh, those are the things that make it worth it. That and my wife, obviously. Yeah. Who needs an immune system anyway? It only ends up hurting you. It's always autoimmune. Well, it is for me, yeah. Thank you, Kira. Me too. And also, Scott, which I hope you recover quickly. Was it a fairly major surgery? Was it, something on your foot? Was it keyhole? You don't have to tell us, obviously, but regardless, hope you recover quick. Because yes, I know what it's like to feel shit, and endo related. Oh, okay. I've had 4 upper GI gastroscopies and 3 lower GI gastroscopies. Each more painful than the last. Hydromorphine is crazy. I prefer coffee. Fair, fair. I was under general anesthetic for the first 2 gastroscopies because I was 17. And I apparently was I was talking before I was conscious, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't aware that I was talking to the nurse about all the random shit that I had in my head at the time, but apparently I was. And thoughts on the 5090? 25 to 30% faster than the 4090. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not that surprised. The fact that they like layered so heavy on the AI frame generation crap in the presentation, to me indicated not much real performance gain. And also the fact that the power consumption is so much higher feels just like an overclocked 4090 rather than something truly next generation and new. Yeah. In fact, I've heard more rumors about the what you call it, the 9070 being, or 9070 XT maybe, being better than AMD has let on thus far. Like, it seems like AMD is going for the under promise and over deliver route, whereas Nvidia is going quite exactly the opposite. Yeah. 5090 has double the memory bandwidth and only 25% faster. I guess if you're going for it being an AI card, it's probably a lot faster, especially with, the 32 gigs of memory instead of 24. And obviously more memory bandwidth, but yeah. 5070 Ti for best value, or rumored 5090 Ti 800-watt 2TB bandwidth and 2 by 12 pin space heater. Well, the space heater seems like a compelling option if you live in a cold climate. However, yeah, as always, the 60 to 70 glass cards are probably the best value depending on specs and performance. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what the performance is actually like. Thank you very much, Simon. That's we're on our way to affording a what you call it, 5090 for testing and things. Actually, we're only like 1%. Cat eater. 2 by 12 pin should just have a separate wall plug for power like that. Well, do you know what? It's getting close. Like 800 watts just for the card itself. Like that's that was a high-end PC not that long ago. Like a 1080 Ti was what, a 350 watt card? Like, yikes. um Also, Simon, apparently it's your third super on a live stream. I assume my live streams, but also it just says a live stream. So, congrats on your third super. Possibly ever. I don't know. um, Graphics cards shouldn't cost more than a main board. There, I said it. uh, well, the funny thing is that the motherboard is a like a kind of, what do you call it? An overcomplicated set of cables. You know, like all it really, especially these days where the CPU is the system on a chip, especially with AMD, and you don't even need a chipset on AMD. You just have the chipset for extra I/O, basically. Um, do I still have those? My apologies. Motherboards are, they're mostly just for you to plug stuff into, whereas graphics cards, you've got. I would argue that a graphics card should cost more than a CPU because a graphics card is a CPU and memory and a motherboard and all the power stages and a cooler. Um, for what you get, you're essentially getting an entire second computer that you plug into your standard, your main computer. True, yeah. Uh, all work for you. well, I greatly appreciate the your repeat business. um, the worst thing is that YouTube takes 30 to 40%, I think, which sucks. Yeah, they do. I can't remember the exact percentage. But yeah, it's annoying. I never push more than 450 watts to my 4090. I don't trust the 16 pin. I don't blame you. Um, yeah, I really don't blame you. It's more pins, smaller pins, and smaller spacing, but more power rated for each. Like, nah. Well, thank you again, Simon. I hope you have a good one. Yeah. See you next week. Yeah, I really don't like the 12-volt high power 16 pin, whatever you want to call it, 12 plus 4. And I haven't from the start. I did see a headline about MSI's yellow 12-volt high power like connectors, adapters, whatever. What was the deal with that? Why can they not mount? This little microcontroller has the tiniest reset buttons. So up here at the top, see those little circles? That is the reset button for this microcontroller. I can barely press it, and then the boot button is here as well. Like, it's so tiny. It even has a BNC connector or whatever. I can't remember what the actual connector is called for an external aerial, or that is or an antenna, and that's a chip antenna. And then it even has surface mount pins on the bottom because they ran out of space for this tiny form factor. They do click. They do click. Don't. They're so difficult to press. You might have heard some clicks there. It's actually quite a nice tactile click if you can press the button. I don't trust that 16-pin plug over 250 watts. I would tend to agree. Like, I looked up the Amphenol connector for it, and for some reason they've rated smaller pins for higher current ratings than the standard Molex. Was it 4 mil spacing? Because I use one of those. It's a Mini Fit Junior on the bed cooler PCBs. I used what is essentially a PCIe 8-pin for the bed cooler project, and it's a Molex 392999084. It's the part number of the bit that I use anyway. Mouse 46 42. Yeah, so it's about a 4 mm pin spacing, and they moved it down to, it's not even 2.54, is it? Or is it? Anyway, they shrunk the pin spacing, they shrunk the pins, and they still put more, like, they rated it for more current for some stupid reason. Like, it's ridiculous. There's no reason that it's essentially the same connector for an 8-pin CPU, like EPS 12-volt power connector, and those will happily do 300 watts in a single connector, so a PCIe connector is running at half. Admittedly, the PCIe 8-pin is suboptimal for that because the 2 extra pins are just extra ground, so there's still only 3 circuits. Which isn't technically ideal compared to the 6 circuits that the 12-volt high power connector has. But nah. Yeah, no. Do you know what, Ish? I think you're right on that front, yeah. Earlier this month, I was using a 2-pin header rose to short reset on a dev board. Fair, yeah. I mean, I have a breadboard on my desk with theories of different projects and tests strewn across it. And yeah, my current dev board ain't much better. To be honest, since I got this wire from RS, 20 something wire gauge wire, this is what I use for a lot of stuff. It fits through like 1 mil pinholes and things, but it's quite structural, so I've used this for jumping power supplies for more than once. What have I? Oh, I got a Home Assistant voice. The ESP32 based like smart speaker AI companion thing. I bought one of the Home Assistant voice preview edition units, and I am setting it up tomorrow. I'm gonna see how that goes. You can run it through Home Assistant Cloud or you can run it entirely locally. I'm planning on running it locally with was it Whisper and Piper are the two? So Whisper's OpenAI's text to speech model, and then Piper is, I think, Nabukasa, aka the people who make Home Assistant. Their uh own voice uh Whisper is speech to text, Paper is text to speech. That's the one. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Nice one, Hugh. I'm not Mo, so I don't need to read your whole name. Happy birthday. Metal twisty cable ties also work if you strip off the plastic ends. That's true. If you remember to keep them around, that is, not just bin them immediately. So am I. My friend has one, and he's already been using it, I think, with local as well. I think he's running it. Oh no, he's running it on the Zima board, not Zima Blade, Zima board, which is the Intel N300 or something. And it's taking about 4 seconds, I think, to process and reply or complete the action. So, hey Nabu, turn off the bedroom light. And then it takes about 4 seconds from you saying that to it turning off the light. Which isn't amazing, but it isn't too bad. I'm gonna see. So I run Home Assistant as a virtual machine on my 24-core Threadripper, second gen Threadripper. With I think 4 cores available to it right now. So I'm gonna see how that goes. There is a GPU in the machine, although I think it's already in use for hardware acceleration for Docker, for Plex. So, or no, Plex is run off my other NAS now, isn't it? Which also has a GPU in it, doesn't it? I think it does. I recently got Home Assistant running on my dev server machine, not as strong as the Threadripper though. Let's be clear. The reason my server is called Overkill is because it's overkill. Yes, there's a GPU in the machine. I think it's the other 46 RX 460 that I have lying around. I'll stuck that in. Yeah, there's a reason why my server's called Overkill. It's also my like production server. It runs 6 10 TB W golds in Unraid with 2 parity drives, just to be extra sure. And that's why I edit off of. Right, well, I think I'm gonna go to bed. I hope you all have a wonderful week. As usual, I'll be back here next Thursday, 8 p.m. for our usual early chat. And yeah, hope you all have a wonderful week. Video tomorrow, Monday, as always. I'll try not to perish in the meantime. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Hope stuff sucks last. Me too. It won't, but I hope so. 7:57 p.m. Yes, that's probably more likely. I say 8 p.m. because it's a nice round number. Anyway, I'll catch you guys there.